Well, good morning. It's Wednesday, the 14th day of December 2022. My hope that you had a great night. Karibu sana. Rise and shine. Let's kickstart the broadcast right here on TV 47. And this is Morning Cafe with me, Linda Alela, taking a look at just how the year gets to our house. Of course, as we look at December and counting days, it's pretty much days to Christmas Day, and the mood is here, the feel is here, but we do not stop talking about what is happening in the country politically, in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of sports. So much is happening, and we are here to make sure that we get all these updates on your behalf, just to keep you up to tabs. And so join me as we take a look at all this. Later on, we'll be getting into the conversation, and being a Wednesday, we'll also get to hit the kitchen. Very, very important that we get to have some nitty-gritty details on what you need to do, especially at this moment when most of the jobs are closing down, and so not really closing down, but are closing. And so you'll find some of us, at home, and we'll definitely love to just have moments with family where we can prepare some nice meals. So later on, we'll be teaching you that. But most importantly, we ask for you to be on standby as we discuss the politics of the day, as we discuss what goodies we get from the United States. And we take a look at what, President William Ruto, of course, is looking forward to achieve alongside other African leaders. So as we start this, we ask again that you're part and parcel of the conversation. I'll be sampling some of the comments as we continue with the broadcast. The Daily Nation, the People Daily, and the Standard newspaper are the papers that we have. Let's briefly look at what they detail on the front page, and later on, alongside the guests, we'll be deciphering, or we'll be delving deep into the details. And the Daily Nation speaks of NAT 6 new pay deal delegates conference to discuss about 2021 to 2025 collective bargaining agreement. A story captured on page 2. We'll be looking at that, also just looking at how tough it was for the CEO for Matters TSC, yesterday, trying to just, speak to the members of the National Assembly, and as well answering a few questions as to why there's been a delay also in getting new entrance into the dockets. Of course, those ones that had been approved of by the National Assembly. And they spoke of a scenario where some of these would have been hired to start receiving their pay from September, but that has not happened. And so she was at pains to explain all this and some of the discrepancies that are being witnessed in the education sector. And that we'll be looking at as we continue, is captured on page 2. And on page 8, so the front page and page 8, we too say MCAs, county politicians push for law on ward fund. And we had Mheshimiwa Keruga Dhuku here, who also articulated to this, and they said it's very, very important because they are right next to the people, that they are funded some more so that they're able to help their people with development projects at that very level, instead of always being at the mercy of the governor. Fees shocker for varsity students. Fund boss says increasing fees is not an option as parents may not afford. But then again, the rethinking higher education and proposed funding model will see fewer students get government sponsorship. That is unlike today, when all students who score the minimum university entry grade are eligible to support. This is likely to cause a resurgence of the self-sponsored or parallel programs, that is through which the institutions minted billions of shillings. This is a story captured on the front page, expounded on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Just what does this mean and what needs to be done so that we do not get our varsity students having difficult times, and the parents as well. Tribunal to hear secrets of IEBC 4, slated on the 20th, and of course the 4 besieged electoral commissioners booked into a high-end furnished apartment after their explosive press conference on August 15th, where they disowned the presidential election results. And then after of course, they disowned that, and over the next 5 days met high-profile Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leaders' evidence before a tribunal investigating their conduct has shown. This is a story captured on page 4. It will be interesting to watch, and whether we get answers then is a question of wait and see as to the same, and we'll be following up closely to give you the update. Uhuru to leave Jubilee Azimio retired president to focus on regional peace efforts. A story captured on page 6, and this, of course, as it would be said, was bound to happen. Let's get to see how much he is able to achieve on the question of peace across the continent. And World Cup, Morocco carry Africa's hopes in today's semi-finals, and Morocco players take part in a training session at the Al Duhail Stadium that is in Doha, and of course, as they look forward to see how best they'd be able to manage this. Remember, the game is almost out, and the world is watching to see who is going to carry the day. Those are the key stories captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. Briefly on what the Standard newspaper details, a teachers union demands a 60% salary rise. That is the first story, as captured on the front page, expounded on page 7, and as well on Matter Sports, all eyes on Morocco in French test, as well captured on page 38. Or the front page expounded on page 38, and we'll be keenly following to see how different this is going to be. Also, Ramaphosa survives Oyster bid. Interesting. A story captured the world segment of the Standard newspaper, and then that as pertaining to the South African nation. Suppliers drugs ban hunting or hurting many. And of course, a story captured in the business world. Away from it, why Azimio was bound to lose elections. And this is a conversation that has been there. Perhaps what will be forming the basis of our conversation as well this morning. Just getting to understand what Observer Group in its final report says that there is no way the Raila-led group could have countered the hustler narrative in the polls. A story captured on page 8. Just what did it take for them to lose? And in future, for those ones that would get into politics, what would it take for them to win? A conversation that we will have as we continue. Ruto looks west to fulfill hustler dream and diplomacy shift, whereas his predecessors reveled in Chinese loans to deliver their campaign manifesto. President William Ruto is taking a different direction and hopes that Europe and America will help him drive his agenda, as captured on page 6. President William Ruto says President, apart from delivering a statement on the future of Africa trade relations with the U.S., will engage with the private sector to explore investment opportunities. And on this other side, from the United Kingdom, government recently approved the fast tracking of climate change programmers with about 500 billion. They have already put in place 12 billion to finance the Nairobi Railway City project. And on the other side, on Joe Biden, U.S. President Joe Biden is hosting African leaders and of Kenya. On Kenya, he looks forward to seeing Ruto soon here in, of course, Washington. That is what they say, to further deepen and expand the partnership. That is, of course, according to him. And we'll be following to just see what we are bound to get out of it, and whether it will be instrumental in making sure that indeed the hustler government performs so well. This is what the Standard newspaper details this morning. We briefly look at what the People Daily has to say. And yes, the People Daily, front page of the People Daily on this Wednesday of December the 14th says judge declines to suspend hustler fund till February, and lobby group had asked the High Court to stop further disbursement of the loans, but bench says the case is not urgent and will be mentioned on February the 15th. A couple of matters that this lobby group raises as to why they think the hustler fund does not hold, and therefore we get to see what will play out on February the 15th as to the same. Meanwhile, Kenyans are being encouraged to continue, engaging and also taking the hustler fund for purposes of boosting their businesses, if not starting. And startups attract about 61 billion in 11 months. This is according to a story captured on the front page, expounded on the business beat of the People Daily. That is page 15. Members of Parliament plot to hire about 30,000 teachers and forcing the TSC hand. Legislators invite applicants for meetings ahead of hiring, as TSC boss says leaders have no role in recruitment of 14,000 who seek transfer, protests, and of course over delayed promotions. A story captured on page 2 and 3, that is on the front page of the People Daily. And this the raft of matters that have been captured and the meetings that were held. Unemployed but qualified teachers have been invited for meetings by their members of parliament ahead of interviews by TSC. Also, distribution, that is, every county will get about 21 teachers and 85 interns, and a majority will be deployed to teach junior secondary. And on the other side, members of parliament ask TSC boss Nancy Macharia to explain to them how the recruitment will be conducted amid claims of pressure from constituents. And lastly, on the question of the reporting date, successful candidates have to report on duty by January the 23rd. That is when schools open for first term of new year. So it's going to be a busy moment for the TSC boss, and we'll be following up keenly to see how then she counters all these questions that were leveled on her by the members of parliament. And that is Tuesday, in relation to the discrepancies that have been witnessed. Also on the front page of the People Daily, Morocco out to make history in World Cup outing, and of course that is captured on the back page of the People Daily. Allow us to shelve the papers for a moment and briefly look at the stories that we have prepared for you. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees, that is UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, and Safaricom launched the Bonga for Life campaign to support drought-affected families in the Horn of Africa. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, the 3-week campaign aims at attracting more Kenyans to lend a helping hand to the over 5.1 million in need of food through the Bonga Points donations.
The Horn of Africa region is experiencing a catastrophic drought, the worst in 40 years, with Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia being the most affected countries in the region. Red soil, animal carcasses, and residents walking under the scorching heat to fetch water paint a picture of the scenes in some, if not all, the 23 counties worst hit by drought in Kenya.
Some 4.5 million Kenyans, mainly in the northern and eastern part of the country, are also battling with the effects of the devastating drought. Many families are struggling with severe food and water shortages, which may worsen in the coming months if the present rain season fails.
The drought is forcing people to leave their homes in search of food, water and shelter, and it's in the millions. That's the amazing thing, that we have, 20 million, I believe, from Somalia, Ethiopia. And so these displaced families represent some of the most vulnerable families impacted by the drought.
Government has since launched some initiatives to support the affected families. However, it is clear that more has to be done. And now the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has today partnered with Safaricom to launch the Bonga for Life campaign, which seeks to offer humanitarian assistance to the over 5.1 million Kenyans affected by drought.
In addition to the Kenyans, we also have refugees coming from Somalia looking for support, fleeing the drought in Somalia. And we have refugees and Kenyans living side by side, and they both need support.
Basically, Bonga is all about how we can leverage on the assets which we have as a business to make a difference within the ecosystem or the society we operate in.
The 3-week campaign aims at reaching out to willing Kenyans to help those in urgent need of food by donating their Bonga points.
You, through my Safaricom app, you just go onto the app, you click on Bonga deals, it will show you a balance of your current Bonga points, and then from there you can decide to pay with Bonga, put in the UNHCR pay bill, and decide how much you want to give, then put in your PIN and close.
And as some well-wishers donate food and water to the affected families, there are concerns that some of the refugees living in different camps in the country are left out. According to UNHCR, in less than 3 months alone, 24,000 people in need of critical support arrived at the Dab refugee camp in Garissa County.
UNHCR CRs providing new arrivals to Dadaab with clean drinking water and extending sanitation and hygiene facilities to the outskirts of the camps where most of these new arrivals are. Malnourished children are being screened and admitted to stabilization centers. Plans are also underway to boost assistance by providing additional basic relief items, including dignity kits for women and girls.
The situation is quite wanting, and when we all come together, actually, we are able to make a bigger difference and do much more. So technology is more of an enabler in this, and we are looking and seeking ways in which we can always use it for humanitarian activities.
Vulnerable families are still struggling with severe food and water shortage as a result of underfunding. Currently, Kenya needs $5.18 million to address critical humanitarian needs for refugees and local communities affected by drought in the country.
With this Bonga for Life campaign, we will be able to obtain a groundswell of support and provide the much-needed critical life-saving support to people who have been forced to leave their homes in search of food, water, and shelter.
The Bonga for Life campaign is supported by renowned artists, actors, and digital influencers in the country who will play a role in reaching out to more Kenyans for contributions. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the bid to change the constitution continues to gather momentum, with Operation Linda Ugatuzi movement launching a nationwide signature collection for the proposed Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2022, which aims at barring the Deputy President from vying. Collins Lusweti with that.
In a bid to create awareness on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2022, Operation Linda Ugatuzi, the movement behind the initiative, held a peaceful march in the city center, making stopover at Parliament buildings, with officials of the movement insisting the move is aimed at making the Constitution of Kenya beneficial to ordinary citizens.
Ili tuwe na katiba ambayo inalinda kila Mkenya, katiba ni ya Mkenya. Katiba sio ya serikali. Katiba ndio inatengeneza serikali, serikali haitengenezi nini? Katiba. Wakenya musilale.
The movement also launched a nationwide digital signature collection for the proposed amendment bill, with the exercise expected to conclude early next year before the bill is taken to Parliament. In their proposed amendments, the movement want the Deputy President barred from vying for a period of 5 years immediately after a sitting president retires.
Deputy President to be disqualified from running for president immediately his or her boss leaves office until 5 years, so that he can focus on delivering as deputy president, not campaigning and staying on top of cars.
They are also proposing a law that will ensure governor and senator in every county come from different political formations to allow proper scrutiny and oversight.
Governors to be disqualified from contesting for office of Senate immediately after their term until after 5 years, so that Senate can independently oversight county government. Number 3, state senator and governor in a county should not come from the same party, so that they can oversight each other. If they're in the same caucus, they are just friends.
The movement has opposed the creation of office of opposition leader proposed by President Ruto, saying such amendments seek to serve self-interest.
Katiba sio ya wanasiasa. Katiba ni ya mwananchi. You actually get to those political offices because of the laws of this country. You cannot now get into the office and try to manipulate the constitution in your favor.
Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
And we'll be having the Dr. Fred Ogola right here on set this morning for him to unpack some more on what they seek to achieve on this process of amending the constitution, or maybe this proposal for the constitution to be amended. Now, there seems to be no light for Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, as her second impeachment motion process is slowly gaining momentum as the assembly invited the public to express their views. Kawira is set to represent herself at the county assembly, that is to defend herself from being ousted by the MCAs, as Flora Lemuki details.
Na sitaingizwa baridi kwa sababu ya impeachment. With just hours before the second impeachment motion facing Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza is debated before the County Assembly, residents of Meru from various constituencies had their say on the petition that could be the end of the road for Governor Mwangaza.
Mheshimiwa William Ruto aingirie kati ya hii vita iko Meru, kwa sababu najua William Ruto anapenda amani. Aongee na MCAs, aite governor vile walisema, aite senators na MP wa Meru, walete amani Meru na tusonge mbele.
The residents expressed divided opinions, with a section supporting a removal, while others slammed the MCAs for what they say is being on a witch hunt mission.
MCAs, let them work together with the governor, na wache tupatie governor wetu kazi, aendelee kutufanyia kazi.
You can't do it with the retired or the defeated MCAs. You need the sitting MCAs.
In the petition where the Abogeta Ward MCA Kinywa Kiogora is seeking to become second-time lucky in his bid to unseat the governor, Mwangaza is once again on the receiving end for, among other things, appointing her husband Murega Baichu as the patron of the Meru Youth Service without conducting a transparent and competitive recruitment process. But in her Jamhuri Day address Monday, the governor insisted that she is confident of finishing a 5-year term.
I am here this year, I am here next year, I am here the year after next year. Niko hapa miaka 5 na Mungu akiongezea ingine 5 niko hapa kama gavana. Hakuna mahali ninaenda mpaka nikamilishe kazi ya kuokolea mtoto wa Meru.
The second ouster bid came less than a week after the High Court of Meru stopped the impeachment of the embattled county chief, citing that the motion did not only violate the set procedure but also governor's rights. Kawira had vowed to make peace with the county legislators and even apologize to them. Governor Kawira is expected to present herself in the Meru County Assembly Wednesday to defend herself before the motion is discussed and MCAs vote thereafter. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
Now, the Kenya National Union of Teachers is now demanding a 60% salary increment. Speaking during the 62nd Annual Delegates Conference in Kisumu, NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu is asking the Teachers Service Commission to be mindful of teachers who are also facing the impacts of the high cost of living.
In the first national meet of primary school teachers representatives after the change of guard at the Ministry of Education, with Ezekiel Machogu taking over the reins, the Teachers Union came together to come up with ways and strategies to engage with their employer with the aim of looking into issues to do with teachers.
One who makes you move every day.
Top on the agenda being upping the demand for a 60% salary increment, which they want effected immediately.
We as Kenya National Union of Teachers shall sit with Teachers Service Commission, and we have made a proposal of a 60% pay rise for teachers across the board.
The union is calling for the review of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement, which was signed with non-monetary benefits, including extended paid maternity leave for female teachers and introduced paternity leave for male teachers. But according to the SG Collins Oyu, the high cost of living has necessitated the demand.
You know too well, much as I do, that the last CBA, 2017-2021, had a lot of emphasis on our heads and deputies, administrators. But this time round, we are getting up to have all of us considered as teachers in this republic.
Teachers are also calling for the revival of the Teachers Appeal Tribunal to deal with disciplinary issues affecting teachers.
And the discussion shall proceed tomorrow, so that we handle teachers' disciplines cases in the Teachers Appeal Tribunal. The Teachers Appeal Tribunal at some point was abolished. Reasons not known to us at all.
The National Assembly Education Committee has also been urged to approve a 4.5 billion shilling allocation requested by TSE to fund teacher professional development courses.
When we don't have enough for our teachers even to maintain themselves, how do we go ahead, deep in our pockets again, to cough out another 6,000 to pay for our own induction as said?
Over 2,000 delegates are attending the annual delegates conference that kicked off today and set to end Wednesday. Sylvia Nyongesa, TV 47.
And on still matters education, the National Assembly Committee on Education has threatened to surcharge the Teachers Service Commission for failure to recruit 5,000 intern teachers on time and at the same time promote teachers who were due for promotion but ended up retiring before they got their promotion. The Committee on Education wants those teachers compensated by the Commission.
The 4 counties again in the disability areas.
It was a grueling 4-hour meeting at committee room number 9 at Parliament Buildings, where the Committee on Education demanded answers on recruitment of teachers, promotion of teachers, and delocalization of teachers from the Teachers Service Commission. And the Commission was at pains in trying to explain why they are yet to recruit 5,000 intern teachers when the government had already provided money for the recruitment.
We were delayed by the congested calendar. We would have wanted to do all that, but we'll do this immediately after this.
With this, the members of Parliament threatened to surcharge the Commission for what they termed as being unethical.
Because surely, if you are not employed, you have not promoted the teachers. You have 5,000 teachers to be recruited. You have not recruited them, the interns. This is a very serious national issue. Or members, you are not looking at this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very serious issue.
How are you going to treat that in the books of accounts? Because from where we sit, we gave you money to run from a particular period to another period. And then problem 2. In your structure, you had already factored in that these teachers are coming in to bridge the gap. That gap was not breached. What happened to the learners? And then problem 3 is a question of institutional integrity.
Every other time when a teacher has decided his job, the Commission surcharges them. This is the time for also us to surcharge the Commission for the lost man hours. Yes, that is all. We are going to surcharge the Commission this time to pay for all the man hours lost as a result of not employing the 5,000 teachers, 5,000 interns. Because somebody has to answer this. Because every time you discipline a teacher when he's absent, you surcharge the man hours lost to the student. Yes, on salaries. Now it is the time for the Commission, for this committee to surcharge the Commission. I think let's proceed because it looks there is no answer from the CEO.
TSC has advertised for vacancies of teachers and they are planning to recruit over 30,000 teachers in addition to the interns that were to be recruited earlier. On promotion of teachers, again, the Commission was on the spot. This time, the concern was on how the Commission was planning to compensate teachers who were due for promotion but retired before they were promoted. TSC plans to promote over 15,000 teachers at a cost of 1.4 billion shillings.
What is happening is as a result of lack of planning. She needs to be very clear as to who carries the burden. The many teachers who retired, not considered. I think somebody somewhere must carry the burden. And that is what I wish that she goes on record in this meeting telling us who will actually carry the burden.
Noting that the payslip, the last payslip will actually indicate how much pension you will get. I was due for promotion and I was delayed for 1 year and I retired and I didn't get that promotion. Who is going to pay me for that lost earnings?
All the cadres, yes. We have not been allocated any money. We can do the mathematics after this, but we have no. The only ones that we know we should advertise after exams, yes, are the 15,522 at 1.4 billion.
And then you will give us the whole figure.
Yes, and of course it will have a ripple effect so that it goes even, yes, to the teacher in class. But then we would appreciate if we got more money so that we are not only replacing those who have left through natural attrition.
Teachers who are going to be promoted will fill vacancies that are as a result of natural attrition.
That is why...
Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission now says it has begun the process of preparing for the August 10th, 2027 general election. While remaining oblivious of the looming crisis at the Commission, Commissioner Abdi Guliye, who represented the chair of Fula Chebukati at a stakeholders engagement meeting, said the Commission has moved on.
Tonight, the electoral body says it has begun preparations for the August 10th, 2027 general elections after a relatively successful conduct of this year's general election.
My name is Felix Owuor.
Commissioner Abdi Gulie, who represented IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati in a meeting with different stakeholders, says they will start by conducting an evaluation on the just concluded election with their partners and stakeholders, including the United Nations Development Programme, USAID, European Union, British High Commission, and get recommendations on how to make the 2027 elections even better.
I want to appeal to you as our major stakeholders to extend your support to the Commission for us to undertake adjustments, to undertake improvements in the process for conducting elections, future elections.
The Commission, however, singled out Parliament as one of its greatest impediments in its quest to hold elections that are above board. Commissioner Gulie called on its partners to aid them pressure the August House, expedite implementation of reforms once the 2022 general elections evaluation reports will be unveiled and proposals made up, noting that the 12th Parliament did not pass into law some of the bills that came out as proposals following the 2017 post-election evaluation report that would have been of great value in managing the 2022 polls.
We extracted all those issues that required legal attention and forwarded it to the two speakers of Parliament. We had one to Senate and one to National Assembly. And the intention was for them to fast track the process of relooking at some of those laws. But unfortunately, those things are still gathering dust somewhere.
The assurance and pleas coming amid a looming crisis that the Commission, occasioned by the unceremonious exit of 3 besieged commissioners who differed with the chair in the announcement of the presidential election. This coming just weeks before the chair of Wafula Chebukati, Commissioners Boya Mulu and Abdi Gulie are expected to proceed on terminal leave after the completion of their tenure. Commissioner Gulie hinting that there will be no vacuum.
As you are aware, we are now thin in terms of commission. We are only 3, and we have a number of things to be done concurrently sometimes.
Stakeholders present lauded IEBC for overseeing a peaceful election, with the European Union insisting the Commission delivered a credible election. This is accordance to the European Union observation mission.
Some of these were very small and incremental improvements, but they were nonetheless in the cumulative effect, sometimes also in the individual effect, very important.
There's no election that is perfect. I think 2022 gave us an opportunity with which to build upon.
With the election cycle ongoing towards the next general election, the electoral body called for funding at the right time so as to enable the Commission's smooth operations.
Instead of giving us, for example, 30-something plus billion in the 5th year, can the Commission be given consistently 10 billion for the 4 years or 5 years? I mean, we can do a lot with it.
The Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, will continue to engage more stakeholders in the post-general election evaluation process so as to better management of upcoming polls. Moige William, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the tribunal charged with investigating the conduct of the 4 dissenting commissioners will know its fate, and of course the High Court in Meru rules on the petitions seeking to stop the Justice Agri Muchelule-led tribunal. Mike Agongo now with the details of what that decision would mean for the 4 besieged commissioners, 3 of whom have resigned.
Karanja Washira, the lawyer representing the Attorney General in the case, claims that the petition by 3 Kenyans, Kiagora Munchori, Godfrey Kinoti and Joshua Mweregi, to stop the work of the tribunal will be taken into account. It will cripple the work of the Judge Agri Muchelule-led tribunal, which has 30 days to carry out its mandate.
If this court stops the work of the tribunal, Lord,
yes,
what will happen is that it will have set aside the operation of the Constitution.
However, the 3 threw their lawyer Kiogora Mugambia against investigation of the 4 commissioners, stating that the Supreme Court did not find them with any wrongdoing in terms of conducting the August 9th, 2022 presidential polls.
The issues on which the 4 interested parties are sought to be removed from office
are issues that were settled by the Supreme Court during the election petition, the presidential election petition.
Mugambi maintains that the 4 commissioners were not given an opportunity to defend themselves at the stage of the National Assembly. He wants the court to declare that the tribunal formed by President William Ruto has no power to investigate the 4. 3 of the 4 besieged commissioners have since resigned from office. The 4 Druma Seats lawyers Donald Kipkorir and Apollo Mpoya want the cases to be consolidated into one.
They seek for this court to find that the tribunal formed, that is the second respondent, has no jurisdiction to conduct parallel inquiries in the same issues that were settled by the Supreme Court.
The Meru court will be rendering its decision on Wednesday, one that could have a significant impact on the Justice Agri Muchelule-led tribunal. During its status conference Friday, Justice Muchelule said the tribunal had no reasons yet to stop its operations.
We will proceed and inquire into the allegations that were contained in the petition as conveyed to us.
Even as Donald Kipkorir, the lawyer representing the remaining commissioner, Irene Masit, raised questions on the viability of the tribunal in light of the court's process.
May only be good order again, and again the same thing on substantial justice, that we defer taking directions until after 19th. Once we know what the trial judge will direct on 19th of December.
This is after Masit moved in court on Thursday to challenge her investigation. Mike, GOtv 47.
Investigations has kicked off investigations into the violence that rocked South Game Ward in Siaya County last week. The incidents occurred at a Kambari polling station after voter bribery allegations emerged, with locals saying that 6 men armed with knives, machetes attacked them. 7 people were injured and vehicles torn. Kisumu City Manager Bala Wanga spent more than 2 hours at the DCI offices in Yala, Game Sub-County, recording statements. Wanga addressed the media outside the DCI offices after recording his statement, challenged the Game Member of Parliament, Elisha Odhiambo, to also record statement on what he knows about the violence, stating that he has that he was in Kambari village, which was the epicenter of violence at time of happening.
And I also thank the DCI who has taken now measures to go to the bottom of the matter and find out what happened. We cannot just ignore things and leave them like that, because there must be justice. On 6 pages today, I'll give a further statement going blow by blow and account by account on each vehicle, how it was damaged, to the extent that it was damaged, and injury, and where it was reported, and P3, and all those things.
There were goons that were brought all the way from Kisumu. We want to know who exactly brought these goons, and even we want to know the people who are chasing the MCA-elect from Kambare up to Luanda.
Uchaguzi ilikuwa inaendelea sawa kutoka asubuhi, but kufika kitu saa 4 hivi saa 5 kuna watu walituvamia. Hao watu tena walikuja. Hao magunzi.
Kisu wako na rungu. Sasa mawe ndio tulianza nayo ili tuwasaidie vijana wetu. Watoto wangu 6 walidungwa, 5 walikatwa na panga, 1 akadungwa na kisu. Na hiyo ndio ilileta matatizo.
All right, well, that's quite disturbing. And how can we continue with this conversation without mentioning that by-elections, and we're bound to have a couple of them, and just what does that mean in terms of us having that, electrical process sanitized, or so to speak, or electoral process, a little bit sanitized? We would blame the IEBC, we would blame the electoral body, but then what are we doing in our very own capacity to make sure the aspect of peace then is felt during this democratic process. Benji Ndolo, political analyst, joins me this morning for this very conversation. Abdullahi Alas, who's a governance and policy analyst as well, joins us, and Dr. Fred Ogola, governance and expert. And of course, it's good to have you, Santi Sana, gentlemen, for creating time to be with us this morning. That in this time and age, we still are talking about violence, you know.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and it's unfortunate. And it's not just, over low magnitude, it's quite high, as you can evidently see.
I mean, the injuries there,
yes.
Linda, and good morning to you, madam. Life-threatening injuries. I've seen an injury to the spine. I've seen somebody's finger severed off. Destruction of vehicles. The cheapest vehicle there is about 5-6 million shillings.
Yeah.
What appears to be like a 2015 Prado, Toyota Land Cruiser V8. I mean, completely smashed. What is worse, Linda, you will not hear a single comment from the political leader of that region.
Of the kingpin.
That is Honorable Raila Odinga.
What to say though, Benji? Because you see...
Really?
I mean, that's
this
what I'm
kind of
asking.
violence in a by-election in your home,
Yeah.
what to say? This is completely unacceptable.
It is unacceptable.
And it's why some of us moved away from him. But I mean, can you imagine somebody who is described, a veteran politician going to 80 years old, described as the father of and this is the kind of thing going on in your backyard, and then he just lays low until it passes.
We
Terrible kind
perhaps
of
need to play the devil's advocate. Maybe at some point, then the right honorable Raila Odinga would definitely cast this, or perhaps say that it's not in order. But even beyond him, Daktari, as a people, sometimes we ask ourselves that these are some of the reasons why people tend to shy away from voting today. Because if you look at the numbers, in the past election, and in future, there's that worry that generally most of the Kenyans will always opt out from the processes of voting. Such would cause such worry?
Yeah, because first of all, let's be honest, Raila lost the election with 200,000 votes. And in Luo region, his staff, over 700,000 votes slept outside the ballot.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Now, you can ask many questions. I have heard people saying that it is Raila who failed the Luo Nyanza people by not winning the presidency, so they are crying that they didn't make it this time round. But also you can say that the Luo Nyanza people failed him by keeping the 700,000 votes under mattress.
Yeah.
Now, the question here is, if you look at some of those violence taking place, you may find that there's been this belief. In fact, when I was growing up, Leila, that I heard these things, people saying that Luos are good leaders, we are only waiting to be given a chance. And in fact, when I was growing up, I was being told those narratives we hear as a young boy, that Kikuyus are thieves, but Luos can never steal. Now, let me tell you what, after a while, we have discovered there's nothing like that. In fact, a thief is just how you're brought up in your family.
Yeah.
You cannot use tribal to even try to look for a way to profile anybody.
Yeah.
We have seen Achienos, Anyangos, Kamaus, we've seen everybody. So nowadays, we don't care which tribe you come from. We just look at who do you stand for? What are your values? What do you propagate? So I think that in this thing, without blaming Raila as such, let's start by asking ourselves, Raila was not in that scene to throw stones and the rest. What have we been made in game to do such acts?
Yeah.
And if at all Raila suggested that he should do them, I think that is not something he did. What my brother here is asking, come out and condemn it. Right. And I think that is something which is civil in any way. Even for me, if my son comes and throws a stone in your house, I should come and tell my son, this is unacceptable as a family value. So we would urge not just Raila Odinga, but we will urge or even the governor of Siaya,
the president.
The president. Everyone should go and say, we can't allow this. In fact, guys are saying the election 2022 was peaceful. I saw the report from IEBC today, I saw in the news today, that it was peaceful, which means that the by-election was more violent than an entire national election.
Right.
It's a shame. I would like to take this chance, because I'm also a leader. I come from the region, to blame this in all terms you can call it, and urge the people of game that let's have a civil society,
the days when elections were won through stones and through hooliganism is over. We have a constitution. There's a process to elect somebody. If you have any complaints, wait and go and address your issues in court. Raila Odinga himself, when he felt disturbed, he didn't throw a stone. He just went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court declared. So why are we risking people's lives? Some fathers there, some mothers there. When you see your parents like that whom you depend on with those injuries, not good. So I would like to urge people, let us not be used. We have a law. And that's why I was discussing here with Abdullahi that we maybe need to come up with a way to do what's called civil education to our people so that they know what is supposed to be done at what time.
All right, and Abdullahi, evidently life-threatening scenes right there. And however much we might want to call it, this is extremely bad. This sends chills into the spines of many. What do you make of it?
Well, I think first of all, we will call that election violence. So, because it's a violence surrounding elections. Now, you cannot attribute the violence to Nyanza. I mean, the people who are throwing stones are a very small clique.
Yeah.
You cannot attribute the leader, the only leader from Nyanza to be Raila. We have MCAs who are elected. We have members of parliament. We have women rep. We have senators. We have governors. We have other leaders. We have religious sect. Now, what does that say about how we live as a society? Remember, that is just one ethnic group within the many 47, 45 ethnic groups in Kenya. So why is it that there is violence during elections? It's because the country's political hygiene is, towards having groups and factions within societies that we have to win, because elections violence is is a strategy to disrupt, either create voter apathy where people don't want to vote, or even scare voters not to go out. So what happened there was a criminal enterprise.
Right.
People who did those things are criminals. There is law in this country. That's why we have, DCI, we have the police, we have the courts. So I think the investigation must be done. The people who have harmed other people, that's assault. Assault is a very serious case under criminal law. So those people who have assaulted other citizens, Linda, Kenyans must know that my right as a citizen ends when I start infringing the rights of another Kenyan. So those guys need to be arrested. Also give them the right to defend themselves. If the courts found them that they are culpable of the actions, they are the ones who did that, then they will be sentenced and convicted and go to jail. But the issue of the leaders from the region, we should not accept violence as a means to go to power in this country. It's not anywhere civil, any country. Those people are just maybe a sect of even the Jaluo community, because Luos are a big tribe. So the sect is even, Game is a small place compared to Nyanza. So those are cousins and brothers and sisters and in-laws and, So the election violence is a culture that has been with us for a very long time. And most of the youth who are idle, remember these elections, they come with, bribes. People are given 100 shillings, 200 shillings. Some are paid to cause this. So I think it is incumbent upon the DCI in Game to fast track the arrest of the criminals and then take them to court.
Yes.
When they're charged.
I know we might want to argue that perhaps this is not the best time to speak about this, and but I will bring it to the fore now that we're talking about by-elections, and there are others that are slated to happen. As you can see, the IEBC says that they have already started preparing for the 2027 general election, and therefore we cannot stop. And so, Benji Ndolo, more than those ones who voted for the president, more than those ones who voted for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, 8 million Kenyans did not turn up to vote. Forget about those ones who really did not even register as voters, to a point where we've asked ourselves, do we need to come up with a law that dictates that everybody has to go out there and exercise this democratic process, or this democratic, right? And we ask ourselves, what really triggers this? And as we perhaps think about 2027. Just what are the likelihoods that then we're going to have an increase in the number of people who are going to turn out to vote, as opposed to it's, being that we have an increase on the number of people who do not turn out to vote?
It's a simple question, Linda. It's a good question. It's the disillusionment with our politics. We have a problem with our governance model. I don't want to say structure, to the extent that our politics is bereft of good ideas, to the extent that we are still talking sycophancy, ethnic mobilization, waste. And I know at some point today we're going to talk about something I've seen controversial online, the office of the first daughter. This kind of largesse, expenditure, lack of austerity measures, lack of fiscal discipline. So people kept off because they felt, what's in it for us? Uhuru is there trying to prop up his friend, his brother. The deputy president then is complaining of being harassed. He's a billionaire. So Kenyans just take a step back and watch, and you don't feel part and parcel of this, because what is in it for you? And so a revamping of how we do our politics, as Prof is alluding to, a mainstreaming of ideas, participatory politics, accountable governance, putting the right guys in office, right from the ward level all the way up to the presidency. That is what is going to shift things. But for now, Linda, it's about godfathers, how much money you have, where are you getting the money. It's wash. I don't even know what this wash means, but people talk about this almost on a daily basis. And I think you saw an expose the other day, the Honorable Babu, talking about, he made a lot of very damning statements in that expose, saying how someone like Junet, if he was appointed CS, he'd make much more money than
in Baba's government.
Yeah, than the money he would have made already, misallocating agents' money and campaign money, etc., etc. Himself, Honorable Babu, saying how if he won, he would not be in his small constituency office, he'd be in a CS, in a big office, etc. I mean, so that also says that his constituency is not a priority. It's just a part-time kind of thing. I mean, we have very, very, very many problems with our governance model. And again, it is because of the politics of exclusion of brains, exclusion of ideas, voting and supporting sycophancy, politics of nothingness, politics of eating on behalf of the poor people. This kind of violence you see, by the way, in game there, it's all interconnected because ultimately the ODM candidate did not even prevail again. It's the independent candidate who prevailed, and he prevailed because he explained that he went and paid a lot of money to ODM, and then there was corruption there, he didn't get the ticket, and what have you. So this kind of thing, you've had the testimony in the process going on between Governor Kidero and the new lady in Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga. Very serious allegations, very, very weighty allegations. That in that kind of environment, Linda, a returning officer is admitting in court, I received a phone call, Honorable Raila asked me to rush and announce. I mean, so where is Mwananchi coming in those kind of setups, big money exchanging hands behind the scenes? I mean, the definition of corruption. And so it's a very good point, Linda, that more than the people that voted for the president actually abstained. So that's the definition of a divided country. And not to mention the ones who voted the other.
And we want to look at it as though it's just something simple. Imagine a scenario where then we'll have to have a president where only 5 million Kenyans have elected confidently.
Exactly.
5 million to represent around...
Where there's a dwindling of voters.
Yes. We need to speak about that, but let's expound it further, Prof, after this short break.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates, Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions, business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates, Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions, business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
All right, the gentleman on set, Benji, and Daktari Professor, that is Fred Ogola. Daktari, umechukua zote, Professor and Daktari.
You see, there's what makes you become a doctor.
A doctor.
And there's what makes you become a professor. And now, that's why in the British system, sometimes you are just called Mister. After you have...
because you see, you're a medic, and then at this point again, you've earned that level of being a professor. So
no, actually, I'm not a medic. I'm a PhD by business.
By business, yes.
But because before that, I had 5 undergraduate degrees, 2 masters. Is when now I came to do a PhD, and then because of teaching and research and the rest, then now you become a professor. But that's
why 5? Anyway, that's not the issue.
Also,
have Abdullahi last year. Why 5? You want to ask as well?
No, 5 was by accident. I wanted to be a priest before, so I had to study courses like theology, philosophy, and psychology. Those was my first 3 degrees.
Yes.
So when I was kicked out from seminary, I couldn't survive with that. I went to do economics and city planning and urban policy as 2 other degrees.
Yes.
Then to make it more substantive as a scholar, then you have to do 2 master degrees, then do a PhD. So, I mean, they were just by accident. It's an outlier thing. It's nothing to make noise about.
But we appreciate you.
Yes.
All right. And so here we are, and we're talking about the elections and how Kenyans would turn up, to vote for the president that they'd won. The excitement, the processes of democracy since the time we got independence, and we were celebrating this the other day. I mean, over time, instead of us having more Kenyans, being excited to go out there and vote their president, it's contrary to what we would expect. And in future, we are even worried because we are not addressing this. We are not addressing these cases of voter apathy. We are not addressing these cases of, people failing to register as voters. We spoke to the youth the other time, and we're expecting that those ones that have registered to be voters would be, largely youth, only to realize that actually that was the lowest number in comparison to those ones that were 35 and above. Just where are we headed as a country?
First of all, if you look from history of Kenya, what has always been the issues around what people vote for? In 1992, there was an election. I think that was not an election. There's been those Molongo things. Let's start talking about when multi-party democracy was in place. And that was in 1997. There was the voting.
Sorry, Mlolongo was 88. 92 was a good
92 was
election.
But I'm saying 90, when there's multi-party democracy from 1997, that's when we started hearing whereby if the coalition of Ford was to stick together, if you add the number of votes Jaramogi got and the rest, they could actually beat Moi. So that time was about Moi versus the rest. Is that an election thing? In the US, for example, they were choosing between those who believe on science during COVID, the first election when Joe Biden won, and those who believe in the economy. And someone saying, fix science first, then economy comes later. That was a good discussion. For us in Kenya is let's stop Moi. Remember OMO, Operation Moi out? Those were the issues. Now, we come back from there when you come to 2002, it was OMO again. And OMO was beaten. OMO won actually, because that's when Kibaki became president. In fact, people got the benefits of Kibaki by an accident. Because Kibaki never discussed too deeply about his economic transformation thing.
Yeah.
It was just by God's grace that Kibaki came in, but it was all about voting against Moi. You remember the inauguration was done, Yote Anawezekana Bila Moi. That was the song. Now let's come to 2013. What was the issue? Hague was a big issue. The issue of some people are being taken to the Hague. So we are voting on protecting people from going to the Hague.
Yeah.
Now, you come to 2017, that was the same thing.
Was it not the economy? I thought,
no,
not 2017,
for the first
2022,
time,
yes.
For the first
2017
time,
was the same, yes.
For the first time, economy start coming in 2022.
Yes.
And actually, it was not economy as such. It was a class war between dynasties and the hustler.
Yeah.
And now that's why everything is hustler. Now someone says we want to do bottoms up to prove football. You can see those proclamations.
Yeah.
Bottoms up to grow football to take us to World Cup. So I'm saying that are those real issues? Then as I just told you during the break, that what was sad here in 2022, we expected a high voter turnout from some regions because, for example, when Raila was running, we expected, let's say, 99% voter turnout in his turf. Even Ruto. But it was not that. Not even Ruto, not even Raila got high voter turnout in their own areas. What it's telling you is that maybe we are getting young voter coming in. The young voter are looking at issues and realizing there's nothing that makes me leave my bed and go vote, or leave me go do work and vote. So first way to fix it, what are our issues? And me, I would like to appeal to our political class. Let us have issue-based politics. Let's make it issue-based. In fact, look, there was no presidential debate. Ruto was debating with himself. Then Raila was just saying, I can't debate with a thief. But even in court, we debate with a thief. So I'm saying, the issues were not really economic issues. We never chose an economic model. We just chose fighting each other and the rest. So if we get the political class, the leaders of this country, I'm urging them, let us start having issue-based politics. Then the other thing I just told you, it became that Mount Kenya was saying they are voting against Uhuru. So the votes, the 3.3 million votes that came from Mount Kenya, they were not Ruto's votes. And some other places, people are voting against Ruto plus Raila.
Okay.
So I've told you, a third of the people voted for Raila. A third voted for Ruto. And then among the people who voted for Ruto, 60% of the people who voted for Ruto were actually voting against Uhuru.
Kenyatta.
Meaning that in substantive matter, those who woke up and said, I want Ruto to be my president, could be 4 million voters. Now, in a country of 50 million, only 4 million got what they wanted. Now, for the people who voted for Ruto, I'm sure they're happy until today. For the people who voted against Uhuru, now your guess is as good as mine, isn't it? And of course, the people who voted for Raila, for sure they are not happy.
Okay.
So you see, that kind of trend we need to come out from. In fact, that's why I've talked to Abdullahi, the issue of educate Kenyans, just to understand what is the voting about. You ask a question which he didn't answer you. Should we put it mandatory? I think we can't, because that's actually not voting is actually making a decision.
A statement.
If you don't vote, it's a statement to the electoral system. So we may lose that data to know why didn't youth vote. Can you imagine this election was about the youth. You had all politicians during the election, they dance like youth, they dress like youth, they twang like
only
youth.
to be surprised by the numbers.
Only to be surprised that the youth knows that is nonsense. In fact, young people are being seen in this country as stupid people, but they are very wise. They don't make noise, they just tell you we are not interested. But they show you in a very subtle manner by not registering to vote because they don't believe in it, and even the register not turning up to vote. So I'm sure we need to get the politicians getting deeper to see what does youth want. Does dressing, dancing, talking like a youth make them feel you're one of them? No. They're looking for issues. They want education. When you are talking about things which cannot advance their life, they are realizing you are not one of them. So they start looking for how they can sort themselves and ignore you. So I want us to go issue-based. Secondly, let's do voter education. Like, for example, some people don't know actually what's the work of a governor. In fact, the way they do politics, they have been shown, because you said a whole Speaker of National Assembly saying MPs are village ATM. So for you, you're voting for who will give you more money, not who will bring a policy, who will do something right. So if you have all these leaders, like my brother Lublai has said, the violence in Nyanza is not supposed to be blamed on anybody in particular. But you should be looking at your leader. If your MCA was not good, your governor was not the right person, senator was not the right person, then on top here with the guy with the money, like Ndolo says, they can be manipulated.
But you see, the irony of this all,
yes.
And Professor, allow me to also loop in Abdullahi on that, is that while we might want to say that, well, youth are keen to realize that really there's nothing much that comes out of this for us, and they decide to run away from voting, then it makes the situation worse, because then we get leaders that really are not worth. We get leaders that are really not good to bring these changes. And at least as at now, the only way we get that emancipation is through the leadership. So what then if they decide not to vote?
First of all, the question of whether we should make voting a must, we will not be the first country. There are 22 countries in the world where voting is a mandatory. I think in Africa we have DRC and Egypt. You must vote. And mostly all of those countries, you should be above 18, which is the same as ours. So there is nothing new in most of the countries, even though 22 out of 191 is still a very small number. But why are people not voting? Why do we register people? We first register people because it's the right of Kenyans to vote. We register people because we don't want them to, we don't want to have illegitimate voters. People want to register to vote. We also register people so that we don't have one person voting 10 times. Now, once you do that, from 20 to 17, we had about 19 million. This election, those registered as voters with IEBC, about 22 million. Now, why are people not voting? And why should I vote? I would vote because, as a person, I understand that not only the Constitution talks about my rights, but obligation and responsibility as a taxpayer. So when you talk of the government, we're talking about the owners, who are the people, who will now pay the tax and then form their government either through the representatives or those they appoint. Now, if from 1963, there are a clique of Kenyans who are controlling the economy, they're the ones whose kids, because you talk of dynasties and hustlers. My friend Dolo, is Ruto still a hustler? I think Ruto has left that bracket. Yes, okay. He's now a dynasty.
Okay.
He has dined with Moi. His daughter is now growing up in his grandchildren's state house, the same place Uhuru Kenyatta was. So technically from this election, Ruto is a dynasty. Because we were saying Uhuru is a dynasty because he had a father who was a president in state house. We are saying it's a dynasty, Raila Odinga's family is a dynasty because they were in power. Their father was the vice president. Mudavadi's father was a minister. So all these guys are dynasties now because we have a cabinet that is worth close to 16 billion. This is where the gap is. The people are not voting because there is nothing man changing in their lives. In the villages, if you go in this country, whether you travel in Nyanza or you travel in there's a time, I think in 2019, I traveled to central Kenya and I went to a place in Embu, a place called Manyata. Those mothers are struggling like my mother back in the village. So even this notion of saying the Luos, the Kalenjins, and the Kikuyus were in power, who are these Kikuyus who were in power? who are these Kalenjins who are in power? A clique, a certain percent, maybe 1%. But the majority of central Kenya, 5 counties, include Laikipia and Nakuru, where the majority of people of central Kenya descend in Mount Kenya. You have poor people in those neighborhoods. So people are voting because those they elected to represent them are not doing it. Now we have the issue of CDF coming up. On another show, we're having the same discussion. The Attorney General is going against the Supreme Court. Who is more powerful constitutionally, the Supreme Court or the Attorney General? I'm sure these things will end up in the High Court. We will be looking for Constitutional Court to do interpretation. Why will the Supreme Court say this document is unconstitutional? Because in 2003 we did not have devolution. 2022 we have devolution in place. Most of the things that the CDF is supposed to take care of is devolved. Education, ECD is devolved. TSC is handling those. Ministry of Education is handling their budget and how they run their policy. A member of parliament is go there to think, because this country needs thinkers in parliament. We need Martin Shikuku. We need the young James Orengo. We need, the late Ahmed Khalif. We need, the likes of like-minded young thugs then who are advocating for change and policies. Now, if the independence is about the flag, I saw flying in Nyayo Stadium on Jamhuri Day, then that's not independence. Independence means when every Kenyan can access clean water, they will be very secure, they will get, education. I mean, look at Barbados. Barbados is a very small country of about 300,000 people, but 98% of the population is educated. The president was on record when he was in South Korea that sometimes during our independence we were lending money to South Korea. So the discipline of governance and because the elites are the ones leading the narrative of the country, they run away with it. You will see Baba Raila Odinga dancing as a youth. Then you wonder, who is a youth in this country? Definition is below 35.
Yeah.
But the guys we see in power, most of them are
beyond.
And those that we elect even in parliament or in the Senate or who are below 35, when they go there, I mean, when you see, like, we are herders in the north, when you have 15, camels which are either bringing milk or water or anything, and then they are tied together, they will always follow the first one, because that's the direction the leadership takes. Now, we have a country where everyone wants to accumulate wealth in terms of material. We want to buy houses, big cars, all these things. So the country must strive. Now we have devolution, and most of the times we're only talking about Ruto. So we need a country where services, if in my village, like now there's a budget from Mandera County government, in that budget you will see items that are very strange. Why? And it's so with all the replica of all the 47 counties, what you call ghost projects. Because they tell you it's insecure, you can't access these places, Auditor General cannot go there, Controller cannot go there, EACC cannot go there. There's a lot of embezzlement of public funds. So as a country, we need to sit back and say, I was telling Professor here that unless and when his mother, my mother, and our grandparents know the Constitution in the language they understand, not English, not Swahili. I can explain the Constitution to my mom. In I think it was last year or before, she came to Mandera and then she was like, Mandera is good, it has developed their big house. And then I told her, Mom, this is what happened. This is the money we got. It's like, oh, kumbe they have stolen the money.
Okay.
You see? So we need people empowered from the grassroots.
Okay.
So that most Kenyans in the Constitution, they talk about rights. What supersedes the right is your responsibility as a citizen and obligation to safeguard it itself.
Right.
Okay? So that in this country, we have accountable citizens guarding their taxes against those they elected. Until then, we'll be discussing these issues 20 years, 15 years from now. I mean, the same thing, equality, poverty, the same thing Kenyatta talked about. Yes, J.M. Kariuki said in the 70s, we have 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars.
That's true.
When was my mom was not even married in 75. You see, and I'm here today discussing the same things.
Same problems.
The same problems J.M. Kariuki talked about in 1975. Maybe in 2022, maybe in 2055, the young Kenyans who are now in the schools or university will come here and discuss the same thing three of us are talking about.
Unfortunately, and we say that maybe we might need to just see some of these countries that have made voting compulsory and see whether it has helped them in any way in terms of advancing democracy, perhaps more than 21 as it stands today. But then again, story for another day, but definitely a conversation we shouldn't run away from, because 2027 is just around the corner. And if these politicians are keen to get the numbers at all, I think this is what they should be advancing. Now that you mentioned something to do with Charlene Ruto and the office, or so to speak, or purported office, do you suppose that the president in this conversation of the Hustler dynasty was concocting poison that would end up killing him? Because in future, then if we are to look at what it is that he calls a dynasty, his children will definitely be part of the dynasty. And perhaps they have ambitions, they have desires to lead the nation, because you do not want to tell me that Charlene is only doing this work of philanthropy for purposes of doing it, because then the dad is president and she has the privilege and as well the leverage to proceed and do all this. Definitely, there has to be some level of ambition. Will this not curtail? Will this narrative not at some point in time, hit against them?
So Linda, part of why we come to these shows is because you want to come here with very original thoughts, very valuable thoughts, not just to kind of regurgitate talking points and rumors and what have you. For the benefit of the country, for the benefit of viewers, it's always good to be very honest, to be very objective, so that in a sense we can extract some value out of the discourse and out of the different things happening in the country.
Yeah.
I want to make 2, maybe 3 points. Number one, honestly, I want to speak as someone who is fortunate enough to know the president's children. As Prof alluded to, we spent most of the day at State House, day before yesterday, just at the national celebrations. And you get the chance, an analyst myself, somebody who's been in activism, you get the chance to get a reading and a feel for the family, for what the family is about. And from the outset, I must say that with kids, many times they are the product of how you raise them.
Yeah.
Clearly their mom is a very religious and God-fearing woman, very passionate about certain things, okay, about family values, etc. And it must be understood, because not many people have had the good fortune to know these kids, especially for me, the young George, honestly, I mean, these kids, you wouldn't even know that they are in the first family. It's a thing, because sometimes with power, people sometimes have the muscle to throw themselves around in such a manner as to intimidate and really shrink and constrict those they don't like, those that are not at their level, etc. And so that's a very, very good thing. To the point of dynasties, etc. I think there's a bigger story here that is being misconstrued. The argument Honorable Ruto was trying to make at the time, it's something I can understand and relate to deeply, just given my own background, how I grew up, etc., where we are trying to build a fledgling and thriving democracy, Linda, by kind of we need to be a country of opportunity, where it is not so much that you are the child of so and so and so. So that I remember one of my employees one time meeting a former boss of mine, who was in Kanu then, and the driver telling me, I used to hear of this person when I was in school in Meru in the 1980s. Na leo ndio namuona, and he's a leader. The conversation was about the necessity to move away from very key families. When you talk about the Moi family, the Kenyatta family, the Odinga family, and their 50-year run, where if you're going to come up, you need some sort of approval from them. some sort of endorsement. Of course, it's a very controversial debate, but it was just that departure, you know, that in Mount Kenya you can't go against Uhuru. I mean, who do you think you are to not do what Mama Ngina is thinking, to not read her mind, to not understand her mind? So that was really the discussion.
Yeah.
And lastly, Linda, it's just to say that, again, the importance of maintaining, being on brand, and being in the space to understand what Kenyans are going through, why the Hustler Fund is disbursing even 500 shillings so quickly. It's because we are in such a bad place economically that we cannot be wasteful, we cannot be ridiculous in terms of expenditure. And my own advice would be that whatever roles Charlene Ruto is doing, the best way to do this architecture is to set all of that under the office of the First Lady.
Okay.
Because I know Her Excellency Rachel Ruto is very passionate about making a difference, so that whatever functions she's doing, Charlene can still build herself under her mother's office, excuse me, and in the context always of providing assistance and support to the president. That's the way to do it. I don't want to sit here and be some sort of sycophant and say it's okay to do this, to do that. Then you'll have office of the first daughter, then you'll have office of the first in-law, and then you'll have office of the first cousin. All of these functions, to avoid wastage, to avoid too many channels for expenditure, should be under the office of the First Lady, who then should be the AIE holder, all right? For accountability purposes, the authority to declare expenditure. Then from there, it will flow very well. But now doing it the way it's kind of being done, remember always, I tell them every day, you have political enemies, you know, so you never give ammunition to the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, you have dedicated critics, you have people who want to see you fail. So we take a moderate approach always to carry the many, to always do what is good for the country, not what is good for my stomach or what is good for, you know, my son, my wife.
Even
it's
when
always for public service, it's always about, you know, it's about the betterment of Kenyans' lives. It's not some toy, it's not an opportunity for looting, etc. And I say this as much as it's maybe not desirable to listen to this kind of talk. That is the truth. That is my job, to just think and speak as an advisor and say, you know, this is really the way to go for success. If you want to go and lie and say, yeah, create this, create that, there'll be a price to pay. And sometimes the price is not necessarily even votes. The president always must have a legacy, and a clear legacy. And legacy is not something you work on in the last year. It's really from day one. It's how you start and how you grow and what then you become known for and what you're able to deliver. And as I said to one of the CSs the other day, including the CBK governor, there's an urgent need for delivery. There's a very urgent need for delivery. The fuel prices are not where they need to be. The job creation is a non-starter. Interest rates are still, I mean, there's very real need. I said this to the Tuga Foods MD as well. We're not creating jobs. So I said, you must have quick deliverables that the president can carry and put on the table and show.
All right. Even in her own capacity.
That's not going to happen if we are just doing funny things all over.
All over.
Yeah.
In her own capacity as, the daughter of the president, with the privilege and the leverage, as I had earlier mentioned, and the fact that she's over 18, she is capable and she's handling that space in the best way she knows how. And there are people who are willing to work with her. Why does she have to go under the umbrella of the First Lady? There are instances where we've questioned, where are the daughters? Where are the sons of the previous presidents that we've heard? Where were the children of President Uhuru Kenyatta at some point in time? At least the First Lady was out here, and we notably saw some of the things that she managed to do. Where were the children of Kibaki? Perhaps today at some point in time we ask who is going to take up from the father, because naturally we understand understand that mostly that is a flow across all political reigns in the global fraternity. And so in this space where there's one that stands out, where there's one that reaches out to numerous other Kenyans, perhaps not getting funding from the government itself to do whatever it is that she does, in the aspect of philanthropy and making sure that, she puts herself out there. Why is it that then this has to be castigated? Why is it that then she has to be advised to take a different angle just because she does not want to rub other Kenyans wrong politically? Allow us to take a short break and then you come back, respond to that, Prof.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. On set with me, Benji Ndolo, as well as Professor Fred Ugola. It becomes a tongue twister at this point, and as well as governance and policy analyst Abdullahi Alas. And so it's about the first daughter. It's about the conversation of dynasty. We all know where it began historically and how there's been that general feeling that, at least we also need to get other Kenyans coming into the fore, to speak politics, to speak change, to speak leadership. But when you look at the daughter or the first daughter, just trying to come out to say, I have this privilege of being the daughter of the president, and so in my own capacity, why don't I go out to do something for Kenya? Just what is wrong with that?
Yeah. First of all, according to me, this is not a big issue to discuss.
Yeah.
Because if you are born to a political family, Linda, if you are, for example, me, I'm a professor. I'm telling my son, Mattis, when you grow up, will you like to be a professor? I'm trying to twin that in his head. Of course, professor is about profession, so it's not politics, but I would like my son to do more or less what I understand. I also talked to a friend of mine who is an American who chose to become a consultant, and his father was a plumber. His father has never understood, what is your business model? That you go talk and you earn money. That's crap. You should repair a pipe. That is like for him. So
Tangible,
people always want their children to do what they do. In fact, I also remember when Obama was running for president, there was another debate in the US by saying, this guy without a son will be the heir. This was discussed by African Americans. Because African American, a woman don't inherit you, like so the Malias and the rest wouldn't hire. And somebody even said, where is a man to chop your money? You know, if you are a president, you are rich. There should be a man who goes to host parties in Las Vegas and your money is chopped properly because you are rich. So we've had all these discussions across the board. So for me, first of all, for the sake of Charlene, I would like to say that she has a right. Let's allow any Kenyan. She is a Kenyan. Forget about being the daughter of the president. You are a Kenyan. You have a right to choose what your heart tells you. Linda, let me tell you. If you sit in State House and your father is a president, and something is burning in your heart to do something, but just for the sake of our thoughts and judgment, we tell you don't do it even if it's burning. Do you know that we're killing you young? Let this lady do what she's doing. For me, whether you put her under the office of the first daughter, or you take her to sit under the mother's first lady's office, the expenditure she will spend will be the same. Even if you refuse to say that the exchequer cannot be able to give money in that office, actually, they can expand the mother's office and spend the same money she will spend if she has her own office. So some of these things, it falls where we talk about in decision making, like spheres of influence, not spheres of control. Sphere of control is whereby if you tell her, go and do this under your mother, you can control what she's going to do with her mother. So we have no control about that. Let her be. In fact, sometimes you never know, she could become a very good president. I don't know. Whatever, if her dreams is that. I've heard saying that we want hustlers one day to lead, which means she's telling them, I'm leading you, and I'll be a leader on behalf of hustlers. That's how I interpret it politically. So let's let her be. In fact, I remember people have been even talked about the family of Raila Amolo Odinga, the fact that there was a very unfortunate incident about Fidel. We've had many people saying all these stories here. Jimmy Kibaki was being questioned. Why was he not even looking for MP somewhere? So I'm sure we are just like when you're on this other side of the fence, everything on the other side of the fence is wrong. Like now, someone says that if you're inside the matatu and the matatu is overlapping, you are absolutely happy because it is helping you to reach where you are going.
That's wrong.
But if you're the one outside that matatu, totally, this matatu is out of order. Let us not have this thing. We have double standards. According to me, I was not in Kenya Kwanza, but with my, let's say, objective thought as a scholar, let her be, because we cannot stop people's career just because. Raila argued. Oburu Odinga said when he was being told in Luo Nyanza, your brother is being president. Let us give your brother presidency. You don't become a senator. And he said, don't I have a personal career? Would I kill my personal ambition for the sake of my brother? What if my brother does not succeed? That argument is valid. Let everybody be. If she is not doing anything that against the law, if she is not misappropriating funds, she's creating value. I told you I shared a podium with her at University of Nairobi when she was coming to motivate the youths to save money. She was talking about a paradigm shift among the youth to be able to become economically independent. And she was trying to demonstrate how she is trying to be economically independent. Of course, I don't want to go to the details, but her presence there, let me tell you, Linda, motivated a young man or two. Somebody's heart burnt differently. If she sat at the back to eat smokies or whatever it is in State House and just enjoy playing with the dollies and dogs in State House, what value would that be? And look, if she is able to champion some people, young people may just do things differently. These are first families that are making themselves available. Some first families, you always being told, keep your family out of it, block them out of it. I was with my son in Ogenya. I put it on top of my car, and he was waving for people. He's only 5 years old, and he enjoys it. And you know what?
As we cut to chase,
to go back there. So what I'm trying to say, let's just make this not become a big issue. She's not broken the law. We have not had any report money has been misappropriated. If those are there, let's bring those ones. But just trying to profile people, I don't think
it's out of order. So we've blown this out of proportion. Should we just call it off?
I think, first of all, the moment she mentioned the word first off, people laughed. And she said, I don't get what's funny. I'm sure she did. People were laughing because there's nothing like the first daughter in our constitution. So,
or anywhere in the world.
or even anywhere in the world.
Okay.
But now, she's not the first person related either as a wife or a daughter who has done the same. I mean, Ivanka Trump was all over and there was no office in the States. So my take is, if she's spending, I know her personally. I've met her during the campaigns. I've met her at Winston Hotel. She's an easygoing person, even though she can't call herself a hustler because she was born to a family of a person who became a member of parliament, deputy president. So she didn't grow up in Sugoi, she grew up in Nairobi. As a person who is, she has been meeting governors, if you saw. She's participating in international events. That's her right as a Kenyan. If she's not spending taxpayers' money, what is our problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. But if she's spending money from the First Lady kit, that's where the problem is. She cannot.
Right.
She can't, because there is no law provision for that. Compare her with other children, as you said. We had children of Kenyatta who decided to take a low profile in politics. We had Kibaki. So sometimes people are born to be different. She calls herself Chela. It's Chelin, short for Chela. If she's spending her personal or contributions or donations from friends or organizations, she's doing a good job. Yes, she's helping Kenyans.
Right.
There are people who will get salary from her employment. There are people, families will be fed. And that's the essence of any Kenyan who can help. So if she, my only take would be, I'm her friend, yes, if she's spending our taxes indirectly from either office of the president or office of the first lady, that is wrong.
That is wrong.
If she's spending her money or donations or other money, it's okay for her. And I agree with the prof. Let's not bastardize her because she's the daughter of the president. Yeah, I mean, we have all daughters. I have a daughter who is 4 years old. So wherever I'm speaking about her, she's the daughter of the president. So how will he feel if he's watching this show and I'm bastardizing her? I don't want my daughter to be bastardized.
Yeah.
But objectively, let her, also, she should be ready for the backlash that's going to come with it. I mean, if you've been following Twitter, people are, and you know, Kenyans are very good in mocking people on Twitter. We are very creative.
Worldwide.
Yes. Okay.
Now, once I saw
it is at another level, yeah?
Yes, so Kenya is on another level. You remember somebody, Mefe, don't run, what's Merife, don't run. Merife, don't run has been taken to every context in our society, including members of parliament, their wives, their daughters, and everything else. So she should be ready to have a thick skin for the criticism that's going to come, but let's allow people, Kenyans, whether you are from State House or from the village, to help other Kenyans.
All
Let
right.
me just add something, just a minute.
Yeah.
Also, let us appreciate the president for this. He's a PhD holder. His son did a degree in Strathmore. And Charlene is educated. She has a degree. She was working at Coop Bank, and I can even mention the branch in Timor because that's next to Strathmore. I used to work there to do my banking. You know, there are some families where the father is so rich, but the kids don't have a degree. I don't want to mention the name, but those names you can tell for yourself, isn't it? Let's give credence there as well.
Right.
So I'm sure that there's a family value there. Though the president has never come to tell you what are his values, like personal values and the ones of the family, but you could see where the children are, actually all of them have a degree. In fact,
he values education.
He values education. In fact, people saying his PhD is fake, I don't think that is good to profile. What I'm trying to say here, let the president rule. Let us focus on his deliverables. What outcomes is he doing? Let us ignore the noise. The so-called the signal and the noise. Like now we are listening to television. There's the noise on the background, but there's the signal. The signal is, are people having food, healthcare, deliverables? Those are main focus, not the noise on the background.
All right, and there's that conversation that is equally making rounds as to what really got the Azimio One Kenya losing election. Before we get to that, equally there's that conversation on us getting to adjust or amend the constitution from different quarters. The president himself.
Big mistake.
A big mistake. A big mistake, and we're sitting with one of the few who are, pushing for this. Perhaps we should listen to this story that will get us to this very conversation. The last time we were were here with the professor here, the gentleman that we had on set sort of felt like maybe it wasn't time. And we ask ourselves, just when is time right for us to change a constitution? We are almost 12 years into this one that we have today. It is a dynamic document, and therefore it is bound to change. There are spaces.
Implement it. This constitution was a long journey.
Yes.
I was part of that journey under Katiba Sasa campaign. A lot of Kenyans, Daktari talked about civic education. A lot of Kenyans have not read and internalized the constitution, including leaders. In my line of work, I meet, elected governors, etc. And they concede. They're like, we actually have not. How many people have understood the articles and the ideals in the constitution?
What would it take for us to understand them? And just what is the guarantee that we're capable of doing that?
It takes. So I was part of a constitutional audit in the Office of the Auditor General in 2018, I believe. And we went around the country just to collect views and process those views. In fact, we even designed a questionnaire and translated to Swahili to understand the Mama Mboga in Loitoktok. Does she know what is a senator? What is the role of a senator? What is the role of a governor? What is political parties funding?
Whose prerogative is it to?
So what happens?
We play the clip first, as you said.
And then we come to that. Mr. Director, do we have that clip on the change of constitution by... Yes, we have it. Let's listen in.
In a bid to create awareness on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2022, Operation Linda Ugatuzi, the movement behind the initiative, held a peaceful march in the city center, making stopover at Parliament buildings, with officials of the movement insisting the move is aimed at making the Constitution of Kenya beneficial to ordinary citizens.
Ili tuwe na katiba ambayo inalinda kila Mkenya, katiba ni ya Mkenya. Katiba sio ya serikali. Katiba ndio inatengeneza serikali, serikali haitengenezi nini? Katiba. Wakenya musilale.
The movement also launched a nationwide digital signature collection for the proposed amendment bill, with the exercise expected to conclude early next year before the bill is taken to Parliament. In their proposed amendments, the movement wants the Deputy President barred from vying for a period of 5 years immediately after a sitting president retires.
Deputy President to be disqualified from running for president immediately his or her boss leaves office until 5 years, so that he can focus on delivering as deputy president, not campaigning and staying on top of cars.
They are also proposing a law that will ensure governor and senator in every county come from different political formations to allow proper scrutiny and oversight.
Governors to be disqualified from contesting for office of Senate immediately after their term until after 5 years, so that Senate can independently oversight county government. Number 3, state senator and governor in a county should not come from the same party, so that they can oversight each other. If they're in the same caucus, they are just friends.
The movement has opposed the creation of Office of Opposition Leader proposed by President Ruto, saying such amendments seek to serve self-interest.
Katiba sio ya wanasiasa. Katiba ni ya mwananchi. You actually get to those political offices because of the laws of this country. You cannot now get into the office and try to manipulate the constitution in your favor.
Collins Lusweti, TV 47, Nairobi.
Give me a time.
1 minute. 1 minute, Prof.
So what is important here is he's talking about Kenyans have not understood. Why the US having a long history is when they understand their constitution. You don't understand these things until you see it play out. So that's why it takes history. Like now, it took me history to discover that when a governor becomes a senator, it becomes difficult to oversight the governor. When it's
even absurd.
So I'm saying we have to change it as it goes. Then because 1 minute, the constitution, when we are being told that we are saying we are rejecting this constitution because there are 20% of this constitution is poisonous, they told us. Then we were told, do this, implement it, we shall rectify the 20%. Remember, Indian constitution was changed in 1 year, American was changed in 2 years. Ours is 12 months. There's a place was changed in 6 months, South Africa. So it is not like it's too early.
You want to come in before Benji comes in, all right?
First of all, amending a constitutional document, a constitution as a document, is not something new in the world. Even our own, from 1963. We had the first legal notice number 718 of 1963. And from there, we have been amendments. And the constitution has talked about how we will do it. But now, Prof talked about Kenyans, including the deputy president when he was campaigning, telling us that this document, because it's a hybrid from South Africa, United Kingdom, the US, among others.
True.
And then culturally, you know, domesticated to fit. And I'm sure I was asking, and I want to ask Benji, my brother here, to tell us how many people were in the, you know, the team, constitutional review team, who are not from Central or Rift Valley. Because if you look at this document, it is like the people who prepared have had the history of Kenyan suffering, including those in Central and Nyanza. And then they wanted to come up with a document that will make the political class very difficult for them to do what they want to do. Because look at the BBI thing. The day it came, I was in Mandera, and I said, BBI is an example of the politics of bad manners in this country.
Yes.
Because what they wanted to bring was not improving the lives. Now, if the constitution is 80% good, that is an A.
That's an A.
Right. That's an A.
Yes.
So why are you concentrating with 20? 20 is an E. Okay?
That's why I talked about implementation.
Yes, so I want to tell my brother Ben now, it is the responsibility of government to do civic education. It's the constitution.
Yes.
Now, we emphasize on public participation. You cannot do public participation unless first you exhaust civic education.
True.
Okay?
Because what will you be engaged in the public?
Like now you take, Benji comes from a certain village, even his grandfather, yes. We take the budget appropriation committee there. We talk or speak a lot of jargons. Does my grandmom understand budget breaking process?
No.
It is me and him to break it down for them.
And I wanted to ask this question. Are you trying to say that it would be necessary for us to have this then also translated to the various tribes?
Government will not do it.
We have?
So there are things. So there are things I can't say on air. But we will discuss immediately off air.
Okay. Yeah. Why not say them on air?
No,
all right,
there are
so
things I can't say.
You don't say everything.
It's fine. Give us a link.
That's why as men.
There was a civic education component of the constitution. Somebody very high up said, this civic education, it will end up hurting us.
Yes.
It will end up hurting us because what happens is the more understanding they have on this constitution, this is a very liberal constitution by the way, Linda. One of the small mistakes that happened with this constitution is that this constitution assumed good governance. It assumed good manners, as Abdullahi is alluding to. This constitution assumed once you are a governor for 2 terms, you cannot imagine to come back as a senator. You understand? It's like saying if Uhuru now could imagine, okay, I've been a president for 2 terms, let me go and try and be Gatundu South MP after Moses Kuria. So this constitution assumed certain ideals, but the real politic of our society is that decency has been thrown out the window. So you have murder suspects and what have you running around are completely shameless. You have looting in counties that is unprecedented and unheard of, and it's a norm. And so, again, implementation of the constitution, because what we did and why we're having this discussion is because during the design of the constitution, and I only played a small role from the civil society side, though of course Professor Kagwanja ran, the government-funded secretariat for the Yes campaign, and they borrowed a lot from what civil society was saying. A lot of what the design encompassed, Abdullahi, was a disbursement of powers from the imperial presidency into constitutional commissions and independent offices, such as controller of budget, such as auditor general, such as the independent boundaries commission, all right, such as such as the Independent Office of Director of Public Prosecutions, a Directorate of Criminal Investigation. I mean, constitutional offices that you have tenure, you have protection, and also provision of basic rights for Kenyans, etc. But you see now, if law enforcement don't understand this, if Kenyans themselves don't understand this, if they are still illiterate and poor, you see there's a mismatch between the reality on the ground, Linda, and the actual text of the Constitution.
Benji,
so you've had a lot of violations.
Yes.
And then you had something very, dogmatic in a sense, run by Kina Haman Manyora and all these other BBI people who, first of all, divided the country into ethnic regions and zones, assigned kingpins. All right? Then you say, if we go to an election to avoid dividing the country, let us find something, a token for the kingpins, so that there's a semblance of Waluya wako kwa serikali. Now, to have such a discussion in the 21st century,
there's a problem.
Hold
it. Can I read
have
some
such
of
a
these
discussion in the 21st century?
Gentlemen, can we read some of these comments? And Benji, to imagine that the Constitution is going to be implemented in totality and that we should wait for that, even when we realize that there are loopholes and discrepancies that could be addressed.
And in the background of the president himself saying things like, sisi tunakula nyama mkimeza mate, it just tells you how, again, the model is premised on the wrong thing.
Two things that Dr. Barak is saying, he's watching, says, tuned in from Emmanuelia, glad to learn from Benji and Core. He says this, Benji should, however, know that we don't watch TV off air. He should speak now or forever keep his peace. That is in relation to what you said you should not. Alfred Opati Kaki says, let us implement the current constitution to the fullest. We cannot afford to use another taxpayer's fund.
Imagine.
Used
when Kenyans are hungry.
Let's allow Professor say something. Yes, Professor.
First and foremost, let me start telling you that this country is designed to be against the citizens. And let me just pull this clearly. I will pull by, first of all, we talk about the voting percentages. I talked to a senior politician in this country. So Dr. who is mentioning there, me, I don't keep things off air. I'll tell you what I say off air and on air.
Okay.
I'm Fred Ogoda, what you see is what you get. So there's a politician whom I told, why don't you digitize? In fact, Bitangi Demo, I gave him a technology and a system on which voting can be made easy. And when we call politicians to this boardroom, he said, if you make it easy for youths to vote, this government will crumble.
Yeah, they'll vote you out.
You have to make the registration of voting and voting process as tedious as possible to discourage young people from voting. I was so heartbroken because there's blockchain technology where nothing can be changed. Everything will remain above board. The same thing. The constitution making process sits where? BBI Secretariat. Now, if you want to change a clause in BBI Secretariat, how do you access it? And that's why I'm telling Kenyans, I'm sure Kenyans are booing me. I have put my own money, Linda. To draft a bill is 3 million minimum, personal money. You understand? To do the what called the participation in all 47 counties, it cost me money. Today I'm going to Voi. On Friday I'm in Kisumu. Next week I am in Siaya. Then Bungoma and Kakamega.
Under which umbrella?
Who is financing me?
Under which umbrella?
So the constitutional making process is hard because if you are an individual, you have no budget.
Right.
If politicians, they use state funds. So I'm telling Kenyans, this is their first time to get it right. Get behind Operation Linda Ugatuzi. We are people you can talk to.
It's one thing to get it right, Prof. It's another to have some of these things that we've gotten right implemented.
Yes, so that's
what Benji raises as a concern.
That I'm trying to say, for example, to get those things implemented, there are some things we have to stop politicians from doing. Like I've just told you, who will oversight them? If they have, in fact, my main imperative in this constitutional amendment, I said, we have a legal framework to this constitution, which is right. We have an evil, or if not immoral, governance mechanism. Because, look here, someone can take 7.5 billion shillings from the coffers, walk away with it, and there's nothing you can do because there's no mechanism even to put them to book.
Is there no mechanism?
There is
no
none.
Goodwill.
No, there is none.
Allow us to take a short break.
Because there's no mechanism, because you'll be told there's no mechanism. I'm telling you.
System structure zero.
Yes, they have made the constitution to have a good legal framework, but intentionally put the governance mechanism unable to implement the good intentions which are legal.
What gives you the confidence that this is going to be a game changer after this short break?
We'll talk about
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands.
All right, gentlemen, we're back, and this should be the last laps of this very segment. Benji Ndolo is with us this morning. Professor Fred Ogola as well is with us this morning, and we have governance and policy analyst, that is Abdullahi Elas as well. Gentlemen, I guess that time would not allow for us to get into the other discussions that we had set, but this is equally very, very important. I took it from you before we took that break. And yes, Dr. Barak is watching, still says, salute Fred Ogola, agree with you. Voting processes should be digitized and results real time. He goes ahead to say, where did Dr. Matsanga go? Please invite him so that we could revisit the stuff we used to say on TV47 elsewhere. Definitely, we will purpose to do that. And thank you for watching Daktari. And here we are, briefly, before we take it to you, and perhaps to expound it further, because we really want to understand where Professor comes from, because we can't just whitewash this. We cannot overlook it. Very, very important that we have these conversations. And I mean, the president himself is also considering that after saying no to BBI. So, yeah.
So I'm putting these people in what we call prisoner's dilemma. Raila wants some amendments to favor him, but he cannot initiate it. Ruto wants to initiate amendments, and he cannot do them. Who is the alternative? Operation Linda Ugatuzi legitimately is the third force in Kenya, because there's none. So the third force will be Operation Linda Ugatuzi. The one who will reach out to me, and I would like if both of them come to the table, then we agree. The only thing is that the constitution will be the country, the citizens will be the custodian. So when they say, change for me that clause, we go again consult with people across the counties and make the process happen. Then there are some clauses there that are already all MCAs in Kenya, in all counties, they are setting up WhatsApp groups to start mobilizing their people around the bill. So, there are three things politicians always want to have. And I'm going to take one from one, they want to have the people. One, the people on their side, they go where the people are going. Two, money. Three, brains, isn't it? Within Operation Inda Ugatuzi are 47 lawyers. Now I'm going to get another one from Mandera, who are from every county, whom I'm using to look for everything within every county to work with, 47 lawyers. Then I have 8 lawyers nationally that I use for example, when I went and stopped Hustler Fund, the judge has accepted now that we have given submissions to all the state officials who are involved. So we are going to make people realize what they have never known. And I don't tire. The journey will be long, but that is how we're going to do it. Then secondly, you find, for example, community health volunteers, we call them, community health volunteers. They are volunteering to help people in the public health, primary health. Volunteering. I'm now working with them because I'm changing the constitution to set up Health Service Commission so that they can be converted from volunteers to workers. Doctors are on strike in Mombasa, I was there. Now doctors are willing to come on the table with nurses. So they're going to find that slowly by slowly, the people are tilting toward Operation Inda Ugatuzi, and they're remaining them making noise among themselves. Who will be the first to blink? The one who will blink first will work with them, because I'm not on either side. But the conditions must be clear. It must be people-driven and people benefit. Operation Inda Ugatuzi is a movement which has begun. It's going to transform people. And we are going to ensure that everything we see loopholes where money is being lost and everything is being done. For example, pending bills in Nairobi County is 98 billion. Sonko took up when it was 58 billion.
It's terrible.
And you know what's happening? 88% of the budget that goes to counties are recurrent expenses. Now you tell me whether the pending bills are only 12%, meaning that this money was budgeted for, the money was taken to the counties, and they is misappropriated. You saw, like yesterday, there's a case of somebody who earns 55,000 shillings and has transacted in Nairobi over 550 million Kenya shillings.
And in his account, currently is 48 million shillings sitting.
So what I'm trying to say here, Linda, these are glaring issues. So I will ask my brother who talks about that 20% is an E. If you are driving and a few things in your car are not working, do you wait and say 80% of the functions are working? Let me continue. The brake is only 1%, isn't it? It's not working. So you continue driving, and you know the 80%, the 80% rule, Pareto economy, the 80-20 rule. Maybe the 20% is where the whole secret lies of success.
And the brother is here to respond to that.
But I think, first of all, Kenyans, I would like to agree with my brother Ben, that the Constitution anticipated for people to have ideals. You know why? You cannot legislate ideals. That's why the Constitution anticipates you behave. It's your document, then you behave as a person.
To implement it, to
yes.
uphold the rule of law.
And I want to tell Prof, every country in the world is ruled by minority. Everywhere. United States, UK, Kenya. Yeah, we're still talking about 4 people. And even in this country, the people who rule majority are either sons of ministers or people who dine and wine with the presidency. Now, let us not undermine or demean ourselves. One person, one journalist in 1972 created the Watergate scandal, or President Nixon, Richard Nixon in 1972 to 74. So our Constitution is a good document. To remove the president. In this country, the people who expose corruption are ordinary Kenyans. Ben, me, Kenyans. I took Mandera County government to court over the recruitment of the chief county officers. It's now coming up for here on 27th.
All the best.
So what we're saying is this. When you have, why we created those institutions my brother talked about is to diversify power.
Correct.
Today, if I have issues with the Mandera County budget, I will write a letter to the controller of budget. Telling him, these guys, the assembly has passed a document that is coming to you. But all these items are ghost projects. They don't exist. So please scrutinize this budget. Send your people to these villages. I can help you access where these people are. 80% of the burden of protecting the Constitution lies with Kenyans, but they do not know it. As my brother was saying, an informed citizenry is not good for any government.
Right.
Governments across the world, even from the medieval, they ride on ignorance. I was telling you the story about Holland in Norway. In Norway, I went there for 4 months, one time. The 4 months, I did not shine my shoes.
Right.
Yes.
In Nairobi now, I had to shine my shoes myself this morning.
Yes.
But when I go to town,
You have to shine
I
again.
have to shine again.
Yes.
So it shows you...
vumbi.
So, no, what is the standard we have set for ourselves?
Panya kila mahali.
Why is it that Runda and Karen and you know, places like Karura Forest, the trees are there? And there are no trees in Kebra or Madare. Because afforestation is the mentality of a rich man.
Right.
A poor man, I told you, it's not about food. If a Kenyan cannot buy a newspaper, they can't access health insurance. They can't access, you know, the basic, you know, need. This morning when I was coming to this place, I saw like 60 men and women sleeping next to, you know, a shop in Isli. And those shops will be opened by 7:30.
Right.
So those guys have to go away. And they come there to sleep. What is the state doing to help them?
What is the state doing to help them? We're going to have a government, even after we have perhaps made the amendments on the Constitution. What, again, I'll ask, gives you the confidence that this will be the ultimate solution, that the government then, Professor, will help in the aspect of the implementation of this? Because there's no about turn, and rightfully as a Kenyan, you have the right to proceed and, you know, spearhead conversations of change of Constitution.
For example, you look at the structures we are putting in place. Like now, we put up a county planning and procurement committee that we say that before money is wired from the national government to the county government, they have to look at the issues of pending bills and see whether they are the budget compliance and set up what is called zero compliance of budget and make it illegal. CDF being put under Public Finance Management Act ensures that CDF becomes now auditable like any other public fund rather than being MP's pocket
As
money.
it stands, CDF...
No, it's a pocket money.
Yes.
No one audits it.
Yeah.
So those suggestions, I'm sure they're trying to tell me, where will I go if the MPs are not happy?
Right.
But the point is, it is now creating conversation. Like now the 20 questions that came around with the Hustler Fund. Do you know now there are other people taking cases to court,
to challenge
now challenging each and every question individually.
And the court has said that we have to wait until February around the 15th for this.
So what is happening there is that before, around March, you may find 50 cases against Hustler Fund. So I'm sure at some point, the state can say, somebody even has lied that the president has bought the courts. They have not. And I can tell you cannot buy all judges. And in fact, we had a very good conversation when we came, that in the US, it is illegal to talk to a judge.
Not illegal, you cannot.
You cannot. But for us here, you call a judge, have coffee with them, they come to a ceremony, they hug you. In the US,
the next day they
hug. Which hug? Not talking is impossible.
Frederick Owiti, and Prof, I'm trying to, you know, just cut you short because of the aspect of time. Frederick Owiti says, how can I join the formation? This is good journey. It will liberate us Kenyans.
Give him my number.
He's online. I don't have his number, but it's fine. I'll try and reach out to him.
My number is 0708 400
yes
457. I'm not afraid. I'm a Kenyan.
All right, proceed.
Yes. So I'm saying to say, we will...
The number.
Yes, 0708
yes
400 457. Reach out to me. I am creating this platform for all Kenyans to come and express themselves. It's Operation GOtv is not owned by anybody. It is just registered for sake of protection, but it's a Kenyan thing. Kenyan driven. So any Kenyan who has any aspirations like mine, let us come together. And I'm telling you, something good will come out of it.
You know, Fred Okango tried this also with the Punguta.
But yesterday, I was in Parliament. When I went to Parliament yesterday, and I was coming to the front of Parliament, the policeman tried to push me, and I told him, excuse me, my brother, any change starts with the tears and sometimes ends in blood. I'm not afraid. Shoot it if you want. And then they allowed me to make demonstration there. We not demonstration, but stood there. We knelt before Parliament and prayed and told God that Parliament gets their power from God. Let God stop them from doing anything which is
But God gave us the brain. So.
And I went to Vigilance House, the same thing. The policeman tried to push me in Vigilance House. Again, we knelt down and told God that all powers come from you, isn't it? And people's power is from you. So government power is third after people.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to say that this conversation is
I can see people already calling.
Yes.
And they're already calling.
I can see people
Please allow him to.
Yeah, so I'm trying to say, in short, this conversation, the way community health workers, do you know community health workers know household duties data in every country? They're with me, all of them. And I'm a health expert, so we are with them. That's why I got medical doctors there.
Yeah.
So there'll be people coming. Do you know that the digital registration has reached, digital signature collection has reached 120,000 from launch, digital. We have a system which I'll collect the signatures digitally, take them to one of the big four auditing company to audit the signature collection before I go to IEBC. So that when IEBC tells me my signatures are not correct, first they have to bring an audit firm to give them a counter opinion. So it's not going to be easy because I'm a strategist. And most things you win before it begins. Every war is won before it begins.
Professor, all the best. Anything for the good of the country. We appreciate.
Yes.
1 minute.
I'll say that there is the tendency among Kenyans that government feeds people. It is not the work of the government to feed people. Governments govern. They protect the states. They create an environment where people thrive. What we need from this government is to make sure that Kenyans have access to water, access to health, universal health, make sure our roads are good, internet goes everywhere and networks. That is the work of government. It's not to feed us. Create an environment for us, and Kenyan citizens must participate in the running of the government because they employed everyone, including the president.
All right, Benji, as we sum it up.
We have urgent problems in this country. The youth continue to be unemployed. Graduates continue to find it difficult to get a job. People continue to pay hefty bribes that they sell cows at home or borrow in order to get recruited into different things, into the army, into the police, etc. We've got urgent challenges. Therefore, the government must move with speed for implementation, for delivery, for transformation of lives. We cannot continue to thrive in a society where a majority of us are hungry, are poor, are unemployed, are without hope. It is a terrible situation, but we have a regime in place that really, the window is closing fast, but within the first 100 days and 6 months, the young president can really make his signature deliverables felt, and he won't really need to campaign much to convince anybody because the evidence will be clear even for the blind to see. If I don't come back before the new year, allow me to take this opportunity to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And by the way, Linda, I'm a new dad.
That is what you were talking about. Congratulations. Oh,
for the first time
congratulations.
ever. Yeah, I'm actually headed to baby clinic.
Congrats.
Yeah, a month old. So
Baby
it's
boy,
a
baby
big
girl.
shock even for me. Yeah.
A month old or a day old?
A month old.
A month old.
First child.
Okay, all right.
First, yeah.
But you've not
So
been
it's a
here.
big-
You've not been here the entire month.
Yeah, I've not been.
Unsaid.
it's
Congratulations.
and even just
Sorry.
verification
Congratulations.
of
We're happy.
fact. Yeah.
Yes.
So we thank God for everything, and you guys wish me well, and I'm always ready to serve, as you know, and we'll continue just to interact.
It's good, and thanks
Thanks
you so
for having
much.
me, and you're the best.
Oh,
Of course.
thank you so
Viewers know
much.
that, yeah.
It's a polite way of telling me that you're not coming back.
No, I'll come
But
if
it's
you,
fine.
in case I
Even
don't.
in case you don't,
If
yes.
we're in
Merry
December.
Christmas. Yes, that's
so
true.
Let me be
That really
the
is
first to
true.
wish you a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, Benji.
Yeah,
It's
we-
always good having you around.
you,
It's
my
always
dear.
good having Prof. It's always good having you, Abdullahi. And indeed, Benji Ndolo, political analyst, the last speaker of the day, as well as Abdullahi, last governance and policy analyst. And lastly, Professor Fred Ogola, governance expert. Asante sana for speaking to us, gentlemen, and equally for the numerous guys that have been part of this session right from the word go. We do not close it in totality. Kakamega, kuko na airstrip. I'll be traveling home. Nikipita hiyo, I don't have to go through Kisumu, so I think that is also good news for me. And so, as I let go of you, let's cross over to Kakamega briefly before we get to hit the kitchen for Testy Wednesday. The Deputy President, that is Rigathi Gachagua, is expected to officially flag off the Skyward Maiden maiden flight from Wilson Airport to Kakamega airstrip. This comes after President William Ruto's tour that is in Kakamega County, where he promised the expansion of the Kakamega airstrip to an airport, among other projects. Our very own reporter Violet Auma is at Kakamega, and I don't know why I'm saying Kakamega. It is Kakamega airstrip, and joins us live.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. As you said, yes, I am in Kakamega County, and it is Kakamega airstrip. And this is actually good news for Kakamega people, because very soon it will be Kakamega Airport. This is after the President, William Ruto, was in Kakamega County actually 2 days, and he promised some goodies in Kakamega, and among them is expansion of this airstrip to airport. And today we're expecting a maiden a flight here led by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who probably are at Wilson Airport and are expected here anytime. Actually, I'm told by 10 they will be here, and of course they will be able also to make some speeches and also address people here. But I am with the Skyward Express team that of course that is the flight that we're expecting here, the very first one here at the Kakamega airstrip. And let me just bring her in, probably tell us your names and what are we expecting today. Kindly, if you can move here.
Good morning. My name is Harriet Shelley from Skyward Express. I'm in the sales department. Today is a very bright day for Skyward Express, being the day that we are doing our maiden flight to Kakamega. We are quite happy that the President came last week and he launched the airstrip. Looks quite beautiful. The day is quite bright. And we're looking forward to a very bright and a very colorful event for Skyward Express. This airstrip was actually closed due to maintenance for a very long time. We had quite a number of inquiries asking when are we coming to Kakamega, because we have other routes like Eldoret and Lodwar. We also have the Mombasa route. We also have the Ukunda, Malindi, and Lamu. So it has been every day they ask when are we coming to Kakamega. So today we are here. We are here to break the Kakamega airstrip as the first ones to land in Kakamega as Skyward Express. We will be having a daily flight every day out of Nairobi Wilson at 10 o'clock. Bei yetu ni bei ya mwananchi. Tunaanzia kuanzia 5,990. That is 5,990. Quite affordable, reliable, and convenient, because we are from Wilson Airport. We hope that the people in Kakamega are now happy that we have fulfilled their dreams. That at least now, instead of going to Kisumu, or maybe to Migori or any other airstrip, now they have their own, which they can be proud of. And we are praying that they give us the support and stand with us as Skyward Express.
So today, people who are coming from the airport, of course, among them the Deputy President, are we expecting a full board flight?
Yes, it will be a full board flight out of Nairobi, and out of here we already have bookings, which we really appreciate. And unfortunately, for those who would really have loved to come and the flight was full, please continue checking, because our flights will now be operating every day.
Today, is it free?
No. There are people who actually paid. It's only for the dignitaries who are coming to allow us and to bless us on this day that will be coming on board for free.
Wow. Let me bring in maybe one more person from Skyward, maybe to say a word as we conclude.
Thank you, Kakamega people, for receiving us with open arms. It's been a long wait for Skyward to come to this airstrip. We look forward to doing our operation safely here. We have a 37-seater aircraft, a 50-seater aircraft, and a 70-seater aircraft. We have the capacity, so we will analyze and look at how the passengers will be booking, and if there is need to add the flight, we will increase the capacity and hopefully increase even the frequency into this airstrip. The airstrip is very beautiful. We did our safety assessment and it checks all marks, and that's why we are here, and we'll continue supporting the Kakamega people. Just to mention, the Western Bloc people used to travel 2 hours to get to Kisumu to connect to Nairobi and onward. Now they can have a 2 hours saving because they don't have to drive all the way to Kisumu and wait. And our flight lands at Wilson Airport. It's very convenient, located almost centrally to the Nairobi CBD. So it's going to be convenient for everyone. So thank you Kakamega people for receiving us with open arms. Asanteni sana, tunashukuru.
Okay, thank you so much, the Skyward team. And Linda, as you've heard, it is a maiden flight that we're actually expecting anytime. We've been told at 10 the flight will be here, and of course with the dignitaries. But she said that it is actually free for only dignitaries. But yeah, at least it is affordable. If you compare the prices, actually, I think if to Nairobi is about 7,100, and it is affordable for them, offering 5,900 for all passengers will be actually booking from Kakamega. As you've heard from them, it has been costly for many of the Kakamega residents traveling all the way to Kisumu or Eldoret to get a flight to Nairobi and other parts of the country. But it is good news for them because Skyward is here, and of course with the expansion of this airport, airstrip to airport, it will be a very good we can say it will be fair for all residents coming from Kakamega County. And I think it will not actually serve residents of Kakamega County alone because, like we have our neighbors Busia, we have our neighbors in Bungoma, Vihiga. Probably they will also be able to use this airport if at all it will be expanded to be an airport. Back to you, Linda Alela, as we expect leaders to arrive here. And of course, we'll just ensure that our viewers at TV47 are in the know of actually what is happening.